We've got some new releases in the Gibson Certified Vintage collection to talk about tonight. And we do have some good 50s, 60s vintage offerings, but I want to start with this one. It's a good old late 60s Gibson Melody Maker D, you know, the cool SG body shape. $4,500. Does that sound expensive for a Melody Maker? Sure, but it's the Pelham Blue finish. It's ultimately aged. What has me the most excited to talk about this is maybe they bought this because they want to bring this back. I love these things. But this is the 2 pickup version, and you can choose for it to be strung up with your vibrato, or you can just have it as a wrap tail piece and just leave this on here for the blinginess. It does appear that the knobs on this particular one have been replaced with modern, but the one thing you can't replace is all that finish checking. It's about to get real serious too, because check out the back. That's like when finish checking is not as desirable. It's starting to flake off in rectangular chunks. But this example is a fantastic candidate to show you how the Pelham Blue finish doesn't age. It's the clear coat, because the clear has been rubbed through and down to the bare wood in certain areas right here, but that's why you can see the original blue in that area, whereas everything else is this green. Most people enjoy a nice aged Pelham Blue. But being a Melody Maker, you have the smaller style headstock. Fun fact, some of the very late made ones actually do have a full-size headstock. Here's a custom color walnut one that has that. My mind was blown when I first saw one of those. However, to be fair, I've grown accustomed to the tininess of them and just accept that. Just like another acquired taste to these are the necks are always a natural hue and does not match the body. But it looks like we've got replaced strap buttons, lots of wear and tear. That's a player's grade edition. And they're going to ship it out in a brand new case, which is pretty lush for a guitar like that. But they were asking for $4,500. Did it sell? I'm kind of surprised no. However, I didn't see this launch get too much fanfare. So let's move into our next one. It was a 1963 Gibson Hummingbird Acoustic. It's certainly an early produced one. Loved the saddle on that one. Tons of cool streaking in your Brazilian rosewood. I would imagine the bridge pins have been updated, but you got some cool abalone there. Otherwise, just a nice faded out cherry sunburst. With our headstock lacquer aging perfectly, with just some mild chipping to our clear coat. Once again, showing you that it's the clear coat that ages, not the pearl. But oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me. We got photos of the sides, but we didn't get a full back. That's unfortunate, but we can see the backside of the headstock here. Our next one's pretty sweet. 1964 Gibson SG with a Bigsby. You can have sideways vibrolas, the Maestro style, or the Lyre vibrola, but the one that's not often sung about is the Bigsby. The coolest thing about them is the dogbone bridge. But whoa, look at those frets, multicolored. I doubt it, they've probably just been extremely polished, which is kind of cool. They look way too big to be original, so that had to have been a refret. It certainly has faded, but you've got a lot of that red color still in the horns. The headstocks on these always get bashed up. This is no exception, but not the worst we've ever seen. At least our tuners have been left alone. But that's a real easy serial number to see. 189619. And wow, from 1964, that back is pretty well preserved. But how much does this SG cost? $25,000. But if one SG's not enough, now we got two. 1977 EDS 1275. I had a viewer of the show who commissioned a private help session like 3 or 4 years ago for one of these that he had owned, asking me, hey, have these actually appreciated to $18,000? I had to tell him no, they have not. Hopping over to Reverb, it seems people are asking anywhere between 8 and 16K, so it makes sense that Gibson would join the high side on that, but they're trying to bank on the whole Alex Lifeson, Don Felder. If somebody wants to buy it direct from Gibson, they're giving you the option to do it. But the example we're looking at appears to be mainly original. We've got a couple of nicks and dings, you've got your witch hat knobs, lots of rust in our screws, so that tells you it probably lived by the ocean or it was played quite extensively, or something got spilled on it at one point in time. But your fretboards are so nice and dark on this one, but you're outside of the Brazilian era by a long shot. But in this era of double neck, you get the Gibson silkscreen decals. But this appears to have been Kalamazoo made because we do have the bone nut yet. Flipping over to the back, you can see some mild discoloration right here. Looks like we've got Dunlop strap locks, so it was definitely played. However, it appears to be in pretty decent shape for its age. You've got the volute, it's within the maple neck era, and yes, we can confirm it is a Kalamazoo made instrument from 1977, the 259th day of the year. That's very early of them switching into this new style. This next one I got really excited for. 1976 Les Paul recording. This is the last version of that guitar, and it's new old stock condition. Theoretically. It's got the sticker on the pickguard anyways, but it's peeling up slightly. But this is when they get the knobs all in a line. They add the maple top to it. You get the double output jack on the side. I have not documented this version of the guitar yet. But as far as the uniformity of the finish, it looks like it might be a little bit uneven there, but the rest of this is looking immaculate. It's certainly been ambered over. I mean, that started life a crisp white color. And now look at that headstock, bumblebee vibes. But this also helped me realize the Les Paul recording in this version has black binding prominent. Then they do have a cream layer right before the board, so kind of like a Spotlight Special Antique Natural, but not exactly the same because they're brown and cream. But flipping over to the back, the serial of this one dates to 1976. And this photo helps you appreciate what the black binding is doing for this guitar. But man, this photo is so freaky. Where's our control access plate? Doesn't need it because it's on the top. But man, that's just such a freaky thing about the late made recording. Listed for $8,000. Let's see, did it find a home? Even though that is higher than normal, I don't think I've ever seen one with the sticker still on it. So the right guy might want that. But if you prefer your white to be a bit more crystal clear, they had an 87 Chet Atkins CE. So rumor has it is this is what Chet left some of his other manufacturers for, because he wanted a solid body electric nylon guitar, and Gibson said, yeah, come on over, we'll do it for you. If my eyes aren't playing tricks on me, I think this model might actually have brown binding. Some of these say Gibson at the top, other ones don't. I do appreciate the touch of them finishing the inside white though. That's cool. It was around the time Gibson got new ownership. They were talking about bringing the classical guitars back. I wonder whatever happened to that project. And if solid body electric nylons were also on the bench. Time will tell on that, but that is a unique model that we should probably review one day. But this one was listed at $6,500 and is definitely priced on the premium side. However, I don't know how common the white finish is. I only found one other at $8,500. But if you want this guitar and it doesn't have to be the ivory finish, you can definitely get it cheaper. But now the big mama, the 1956 Gibson Les Paul Standard Gold Top. I don't have to wonder about these. We just reviewed one about a week or so ago. I know they're fantastic guitars. But I had borrowed that one from Jim over at Jam City Guitars, and he was asking $80,000 for his, and now Gibson's asking $80,000 for this one. It looks like the frets are still there, so that's one difference between what we reviewed. The original ABR one had some issues, so they put a new one on, and it was leaning, so Glaser Instruments re-drilled and installed slightly longer ones. But the wood grain on the back of this one is quite magnificent. Nice and ringy, and in great shape. And hey, wait a minute, I thought they said they replaced those bent tuners. I must have misunderstood what they were saying. Oh, cool. I didn't realize that also happened in the vintage years. I knew that happened for reissues, where normally it's the year XXXX production, but if they run over that maximum amount, they have to add another one. I thought that was something the custom shop made up. But you can't buy this one with a credit card on the website. You gotta call the garage. But our next P90 goodness that you can buy with your credit card for $11,000 is a 64 SG Special. It's one of the Rat Tails, the version that's like comically far away from your bridge. But check out those bevels. Crazy. And this one definitely still has that cherry finish. And the headstock appears to be really clean too. Well, okay, now that we got a bit closer, we can see fingernail wear, definitely dinged up against some stuff. But the lacquer over the logo is what I'm talking about. Hardly any chipping at all. Even the back's in really good shape. I see a couple of nicks over here, but for this year, that seems to be a nice one. But now, how about an ES225? And we've got our Florentine cutaway. A little bit of finish checking, but a great vintage tobacco sunburst look. Two dog ear P90s this time. The 225s are a nice vintage pickup. They're usually not all that expensive. Like Gibson's asking $7,500 for this one because it's pretty nice. But I've got to say, going over to Reverb, I don't think Gibson has this one priced too atrociously. It's either that or everything's just overpriced on Reverb, but if you can get away with just the one pickup one, you can generally get those at a discount. But when these pop up at a good price, they tend to sell quick. I think I sold my last one for like 65-ish, so direct from Gibson, that really does not seem that bad. But the back is just a nice walnut color. You've got a little bit of wood grain going on. And whoa! I don't think I've ever seen one that high. We're shooting for the stars with that one. I've got to look at a different one. Well, I'll be. Maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention. The last one for tonight is semi-what similar, just from the Epiphone lineup, the E422T. It's from 1966. This visually reminds me of the Gibson ES125 non-cutaway. This is back when Gibson was making their own competition, so so maybe that's what this is. Trapeze tailpiece, floating bridge, you got volume and tone for a single neck jazzy P90 pickup. It has the headstock that's an acquired taste with the Epiphone branding, dot inlays, with a unique light burst finish. And just like that last Gibson we were looking at, a dark walnut stained back, with a bit of a burst job on the neck. And I was about to say, hey, we're all done. Which one was your favorite? Was it the gold top, the double pickup 225, or the single cut junior with the P90 TV finish? What? We didn't talk about that. Out of all these new ones that are still available, that's the one that's sold, so it was down here and I missed it. Wow, $26,500, 1958 TV junior. Let's just say, if you want to invest in something, the TV models are just ridiculous. They go for like a 2x premium over a regular one, and they don't even have to be in that good of condition. People just love original TV yellow. But that one does look pretty nice. Headstock has just the right amount of beating up, but the back is pretty clean, all things considered on these, just some strap wear. And we've got the cool serial number of 84100. But oh, looks like we got a lot of neck wear on that. Yep, that's abundantly clear when we look at the full body shot. But all right, Gibson Instagram, did we miss any other ones? Nope, there's our SG special and our Epi. Let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.